delighted to say I'm joined on the line by Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary. Michael, you're very welcome to The Hard Shoulder. Can I ask you first about that story Eamon mentioned in the news headlines there, the updated green list, 4 countries left on it, effective from Monday: Cyprus, Finland, Latvia and Liechtenstein. I suppose the big ones off it, Germany and Poland. What's your reaction?
Just more incredible mismanagement, Kieran. I mean, the joke of this green list now is that 2 of the 4 countries that are on the green list don't have any flights from Ireland, and one of them doesn't even have an airport. So they've taken off the 3 big countries that they added last week: Lithuania, Germany and Poland. And what's remarkable is each of them have a COVID case rate of 27 at the moment. Now, the Irish government has said that they're going to implement the new EU rules from the middle of October. And under the EU rules, each of these 3 countries will be put back on the restriction-free list because their COVID case rate is under 50. So the problem we have in this country is you have Transport Minister Eamon Ryan hasn't a clue. The government isn't capable of running a sweet shop. And you have NEFID out there, whose record so far has been patchy at best. And
Eamon Ryan, far be it from me to put words in Eamon Ryan's, far be it from me to put words in his mouth. But I'm sure if he was here, he'd say, it's not that I don't have a clue. It's just that I've got a different clue from Michael O'Leary.
Well, no, he has a different clue from what he's already said they're going to sign up to in 2 weeks' time with the European rules. So why are you removing 3 countries with among the lowest COVID case rates in Europe, Germany, Poland and Lithuania, when you've already said you're going to add them back on the list in 2 weeks' time when you adopt the EU list? I mean, and they wonder why we're threatening to close Cork and Shannon Airport when our customers can't make any bookings. At the moment, we don't allow visitors from the UK to come here without 14 days of quarantine, unless, of course, they drive across the border with the north of Ireland, in which case, work away, lads, don't bother. They're making this stuff up as they go along, and not just Ryanair,
they're not making it up as they go along. They're responding to events as they appear as they go along.
But the response to these events then should be at least consistent so that people can make bookings. There is no medical or scientific basis for removing Lithuania, Poland and Germany from Ireland's green list when their case rates are 25, 20 and 27 respectively. When you're going to adopt the EU travel list in 2 weeks' time, when if you have a case rate of under 50, there is restriction-free travel. What else is this other than making it up? This is like NEFID, who, if you remember back in May, were querying the effectiveness of face masks, only to make them mandatory in August.
Well, NEFID were responding to, I suppose, emerging scientific evidence. And
rubbish.
Of course,
they weren't. NEFID were responding. They weren't. NEFID were responding to Ryanair's announcement in May that we were going to return to travelling on the 1st of July with mandatory face masks. And Killian de Gascoigne went into the Dáil and said, the science on face masks is highly dubious about their effectiveness. When most of the rest of Europe at that stage, including the Italian scientists, the German scientists, were saying mandatory face masks. And NEFID only caught up with that science on the 10th of August. So the problem with NEFID, and largely this government now, is they make this stuff up as they go along. And they're bouncing people around with these kind of contradictory, short notice notifications. I mean, what is the point of a green list for travel with 4 destinations, 2 of which there are no flights to, and 1 of which doesn't even have an airport?
Well,
I presume Eamon Ryan expects us all to cycle to Liechtenstein.
Will you be? Is it your contention then that we should just immediately move to the European system?
We should have moved to the European system 2 weeks ago when the Europeans announced the system, and we said, remarkably, we would move to the European system, but only on the 15th of October. Like, we have, NEFID and this government have still failed to explain why. In Germany and Italy, Kieran, there has been no restrictions on intra-EU flights since the 1st of July. And yet they have a COVID case rate now that is 1/4 of Ireland's COVID case rate. Why? Because they have effective test and tracing procedures in place, when Ireland doesn't, because NEFID is running around launching mobile apps that are useless and still can't make up its mind on some sort of effective test and tracing system. They're blaming international travel for COVID, when actually they've blocked international travel since the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Ireland has been locked up like North Korea.
All right, I have the mobile app and it works perfectly for me and always has. But anyway,
Yeah,
maybe you've had a different
unfortunately,
experience.
there's only 1.4 million people who have the mobile app, and therefore it's ineffective. Unless you have 70% of the population using the mobile app, it's worse than useless.
Will you refund people who have flights booked to Germany for next week?
No, flights will still be operating.
What about people who maybe are over the age of 70 or have a secondary health condition and they're terrified of flying now that Germany's no longer on the green list?
But Kieran, they'd be safer in Germany than they are in Ireland. Ireland's COVID case rate at the moment, as of yesterday, is I think 72. In Germany, it's 27. You would be, if you're 70 years of age, you'd be far safer catching a Ryanair flight to Germany as quick as possible, so that at least you're taking a holiday in a country that's managing COVID properly, not in a country where Neffed and Eamon Ryan continue to mismanage it.
People should fly to Germany for their own health.
Well, that's what the COVID case rates tell us.
What is the experience of flying on Ryanair like in terms of safety? Have you been on a Ryanair flight in recent weeks?
I have.
Where did you go?
I mean, it's remarkably, it's different in that everybody is wearing face masks, everybody is using hand sanitizers, the loads are lighter, we're operating with an average of about 70% load factor, so the flights are only 2/3 full as opposed to being 100% full, but it's perfectly normal. We have flown, I think, 5 million passengers in the month of August, we'll carry probably another 4 million passengers in the month of September. There has been no case of transmission of COVID that we are aware of on any Ryanair flight. None of our cabin crew have communicated any COVID to each other. It's perfectly safe, has been since the 1st of July. The only place where it's not safe is here in Ireland, where it would be easier to get out of North Korea than it now is to get out of Ireland.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
It's
Look, they're
true.
going
According to Eamon Ryan today, you can only fly to 2 countries.
Right.
Which is at the moment Cyprus and Finland, because Cyprus and Latvia, because there's no flights to Finland, and there isn't even an airport in Liechtenstein.
We'll have to get Kim Young-Ryan onto the show a little bit later, maybe, to respond. What one suggestion has been, Michael, is that in Dublin and Cork airports in particular, you might have this system of pre-flight testing, that 72 hours before a flight you'd have to take a test. Now, a lot of it's up in the air, who would be paying for it, who would be providing the tests, how quickly you get turnaround. What about that as a future model for allowing more access to air flight?
Honestly, it's completely ineffective. The real problem with that is consumers are not going to book flights 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance and then subject themselves to a test 4 days out. The test is ineffective anyway, because you actually need 2 tests over a 7 or a 10-day period for it to be effective. So consumers are not going to run that risk. The DAA's plans, which of course are pie in the sky, is that the consumer will pay for the tests. We think the test will cost about 100 or 120 euros. That's what we're paying when we get our people tested here. So it is completely useless. But there's no point in us having tests at airports when we have a government that says, sorry, you can only now fly to Cyprus and to Latvia. Nowhere else in Europe is safe to fly to, despite the fact that Germany, Poland and Lithuania have a COVID case rate that is 1/3 of the case rate in Ireland.
Yeah, but I assume the logic, I think, for these tests, I'm not the one proposing them, but what I think the logic is that it would allow you to fly to a lot more countries than just Liechtenstein.
Well, no, I mean, the logic is, stop wasting time with these useless tests. The EU system that is due to be introduced on the 13th of October would allow, the reason we support the EU system is it's not done on a country-by-country basis, it's done on a regional basis. So, for example, you could readily fly to the Canaries today, where the COVID case rate is under 20. But yet Ireland says you can't fly to Spain because the Spanish rate is over 50. Now, we accept the fact that the Spanish rate is over 50.
Yeah.
But you're far safer in the Canaries today than you are in Dublin. And yet our government says you can't fly to the Canaries because they're using this national restriction. So the EU system, which would allow at least regional, it would also mean that Germans and Italians could travel to Cork and Shannon, whereas today the Germans have put Dublin on a COVID watch list. So we need regionalisation of this, that takes account of specific situations like the Balearics or the Canaries. We also need a much more flexible system. And the Europeans are proposing that where the COVID case rates are under 50, you don't need any travel restrictions. And that would be a much better system. That would immediately allow Irish people to travel to Poland, to Germany, and to Lithuania. And you look at the huge numbers of Polish people we have in this country. Yeah. Poland was put back on the green list only a week ago. Lots of Poles made travel or flight arrangements to go and visit their families. And now a week later, Eamon Ryan and the bunglers of NEFID tell us, sorry, you can't travel to Poland without quarantining for another 14 days.
All right.
Listen. They are playing with people's lives here, disrupting them unnecessarily when there is absolutely no scientific or medical basis for these bans.
Michael O'Leary's playing with people's money is the tenor of the text coming in. Ask Michael about my refund for cancelled flights on April 3rd.
Give me a break on refunds.
Three times
we are up to date on our refunds. Would you ever get these people, stop off your emails. We have paid out now over €1 billion in refunds. There is no backlog in our refunds.
So I'll just tell them all the money is in the account. They missed it, is it?
They didn't miss it. It's been paid. The only people now who have not got refunds, who have requested cash refunds, are those people who booked through OTA or internet screen scrapers where we have a fictitious address or a fictitious payment detail. Other than that, the refunds are paid, so just stop reading out these idiot emails, please.
So April is all done. Everyone who booked through Ryanair, 100% back.
Who has asked for a cash refund has received it.
All right, there you are. You're all wrong, all you people texting.
Get off the Eamon Ryan and NEFID instead of these idiots on social media.
I think we've given enough kick into the idiots on social media and Kim Young-Ryan and NEFID. But Michael, listen, thanks a million for joining us here on the show. As always, Michael O'Leary.
Congratulations on the show.
Thanks a million, Michael, and we'll talk to you again soon.